Luke Hodgson from Mondo Freaks. Welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you, Greg. Good to see you.
Yeah, I should say welcome back to Australian Musician. You go back with the mag quite a while.
For sure. I mean, I was reading it before, I'd ever met you and, whatever. But yeah, it's a staple of our community. So
Well,
lovely to chat to you.
nice to be a staple.
Yeah.
Mondo Freaks just released your self-titled debut album, but you guys go back quite a way. 2016, you released a single, Love Rain.
That's true. Yeah.
When did the band officially form?
Well, you're the first person to ask me about that single, which is nice because the band actually formed, I would say, in 2009. So it's even older. And we mentioned that a lot of us are sort of session musicians and whatnot, and basically the celebration of Mondo Freaks back then was to just do residencies and play covers of like extended edits of classic disco and R&B from that sort of golden era that we love, late 70s, early 80s funk disco stuff. So yeah, we would all get together when we could. It was sort of a rare thing, but we would do residencies at places like the Nightcat and stuff, just playing that. That single came about. We'd been writing music on and off, particularly Graeme and myself, who I co-founded the band with, Graeme Pogson. That song came out on a compilation from a now defunct label called Plastic World out of Sydney. And that was just one of the things that we kind of had kicking around for years, but we didn't really get going as an original band until this record. But yeah, that was our first little taste.
Yeah. So who came up with the band name and how many names were rejected?
Oh, I couldn't tell you how many have been rejected. In the beginning, it was it wasn't much of a thought, but it's Graeme and I. We were big fans at the time of the show Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Right.
the Larry David show. So it is a reference from a particular season of that. There's a gift that is presented to someone. It's a freak book called Mondo Freaks. And that was the genesis of it. You don't think much of it when you're naming something, but it sticks.
Yeah. So where did your love of funk and disco begin?
Well, as a young fellow, really my entry into just loving music and stuff getting funky was from listening to Jimi Hendrix. It was where Hendrix was going when he died his untimely death. But as you know, like records like Band of Gypsies and stuff like that, it's getting very funky, leading into, I guess, influencing things like Parliament Funkadelic, the Isley Brothers, as you know, he started there, but things were getting funky and funky. So it's sort of I always had a leaning towards, that sort of thing. When did that era begin for me? I don't know. But yeah, always had a love of funk music.
Yeah. And obviously there's a bit of an influence with the Noel Rodgers sort of era.
Absolutely, Greg. Yeah.
Well,
How can you not be influenced by him just within the funk disco world, but also pop production? An absolute master of his craft. But that funky guitar playing, there's no one that has that sort of instrumental voice like his. Hey,
yeah. So what about bass playing heroes?
well, like I mentioned Hendrix before, so an extension of Jimi Hendrix and going into the Parliament Funkadelic world would be Bootsy Collins. I really did love him when I was young. Um, but yeah, like Bernard Edwards from Chic, you mentioned Nile, huge influence. James Jamerson, obviously, uh, Marcus Miller, who would really be a influence on this era of what Mondo's is, I guess, nodding the cap to. Marcus Miller would be a massive one. Yeah.
Um, I imagine you've been a bit sad about the passing of Anthony Jackson as well this week.
Absolutely. I had a flight the other day and it was non-stop Anthony Jackson performances from Shaka Khan records to the classic For the Love of Money, OJ's, anything, fusiony sort of stuff. But yeah, his contribution is one of the biggest to the bass world.
Yeah.
Outstanding, maybe one of the best of all time.
Um, you've been around a while. Have you met many of your music heroes?
Um, you know what? I was talking about this with someone the other day because we saw a basketball team at the airport, and I don't often get in people's faces when I have that opportunity to do it. And I have one regret. This isn't a bass hero or anything like that, but I saw Snoop Dogg at the airport like a decade ago, and I had that opportunity to take a photo, and I never did. I'm always I'm a fly on the wall a lot of the time. I've been around a lot of people. I've been in a room with Prince, who is such a massive influence on me and everyone involved in Mondo Freaks. But I did get into a little private room years ago at one of his after parties by accident, but it was just me and a couple of mates and his band and himself, and we were just happy to sit there and have a free beer and just be lost in his aura. Yeah.
So, what's the starting point for a Mondo Freak song?
Over for this record, the genesis of all the writing was within our pandemic and the lockdown. So we were all kind of working on things at home, and then when things opened up, Graeme, who is the drummer, and myself would get together if we could, whether it be at my place or his studio when we were allowed to. You remember that era, and yeah, so we generally demo instrumental ideas or have a bit of a concept for a song. Jade McRae, who has written a lot of the stuff with us as well, and huge part of this project, lives in America at the moment. And we were just sending her ideas. We would sort of write something during the day, send her something at the end of the day. We'd go to bed, and then in the morning, she would have written something on top of that and sent it back. And a similar sort of thing with Aaron Mendoza, one of our keyboard players. Yeah, just kind of pass things around. It all happened pretty quickly because of time differences, and yeah.
So, with five great singers in the band, how did you decide who was the best to sing lead vocals on each song? Is it whoever wrote it, or?
Well, I guess so. But the real ethos with this project, beginning as a cover band, there have been so many people that have come through. There's sort of been the core lineup of instrumentalists and singers that have always done it. But in writing the music, I really wanted to acknowledge the people that do it all the time. So Jason Hera, Aaron Mendoza, Jade McRae, Susie Goebel, Francisco Tavares, our five main singers. Either we wrote a song specifically for someone, like the feature single from our album is a song called Pumped, and that showcases Francisco Tavares. We wrote that exclusively for him to sing. Like no one else could sing that but him. Yes, so it's kind of like, yeah, either the person who wrote it, Aaron Mendoza, Won't You Decide, is the name of a song that features him. We wrote that together. That's his song. But then we also wrote stuff for Cisco, or we wrote a song for Jason as well.
Yeah. The album was mixed by Grammy Award-winning Michael Brower, who worked with Grace Jones, Aretha Franklin, Luther Vandross. How did that happen?
Again, another lockdown story, because we were kind of going, particularly in Melbourne, going through snap lockdown. So, you'd sort of get up and running, and then you'd hear that whisper during the week that, oh, they're going to go into another lockdown this week, blah, blah, blah. We were actually recording the album. We were tracking the beds of the record at Sing Sing on Chapel Street, and we had a 2-week booking just during the week, not on the weekends, but 2 weeks in there to do the whole thing, vocals, everything. This album's all recorded to tape, old school. So all needed to be in the room together. About halfway through that, there were those whispers came about, and the middle weekend we went into a snap lockdown and didn't come out for months. It was like meant to be a 5-day lockdown, and that was the long one when it was about 3 months.
Yeah.
people who lived in Melbourne. So in that time, I was just racking my brain what to do with this material, and I just found I was thinking about who are the legends that mix this stuff in the beginning, and Michael is one of them. He started his career at a studio in New York called Media Sound. He was doing all those Luther records, Change, BB and Q Band, all of the sort that kind of stuff that we kind of, I guess, pay homage to. And I just got his email and I sent him a couple of desk mixes, and I just thought I will start it off with, you know, trial a single or two, and it just escalated because it was so much fun, and he did the whole record, and he had a really great time working on it, and we loved working with him, and the results are I couldn't have imagined it coming out better.
Yeah, you and Graeme produced the album. You're the rhythm section, so there was not a chance it wasn't going to be big on beats and bottom.
That's true.
Sending the music to Michael, I suppose he needed to get the mix just right.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, we only ever did. There was only one song we did. We got into a third revision. We did two revisions. So the first mix would come through of every song pretty much, and it was right there. It was exactly as we wanted. Just would tweak a few little things, and yeah, there's something about what he did. Obviously, the mixes that he's done in his career have influenced this kind of genre. So vocal forward, rhythm section forward, it was kind of already there. If you're talking about bass and drums,
Yeah. So this, this music could easily be played at Studio 54 or Danceteria in New York back in the day, or Chase's Inflation in Melbourne.
Yeah.
I know because I was at all of them.
Yeah.
Really does have that authentic soul disco feel. How important was it to capture that essence?
Look, it wasn't even an intentional thing. It's this particular project. That's the music that we love, and it just came out that way. I guess we recorded it to tape, but even the instrumentation that we use, like the instruments, they're all instruments of that era. Everything's a vintage instrument pretty much on the record, and it has that sort of sound that you can only capture doing it that way. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the gear. What was the bass that you used mainly?
I used three basses on the record, and they're kind of the big three, I guess, for that sort of genre. So my 75p bass, because obviously an early 80s session musician would be playing something that they obtained a little bit before the 80s, 75p bass, a 1982 jazz bass, and a 78 Music Man Stingray. So that's that chic influence there. The more disco-y, chic-y things are a Stingray bass.
Yeah. Any effects involved?
Very minimal from my end because it is a large band. Less is more. Try and stay out of the way because there's so much going on there's two guitarists and two keyboard players. So if I used any effects at all, it was either just a phaser or a chorus pedal. Yeah.
And when you play this music live, what's the stage rig?
The stage rig for me, I use a 80s solid state Gallion Kruger 800 RB. That's my main head that I've always had, a real punchy classic sound. I might use that phaser and chorus again, maybe a little overdrive from time to time, but it's very simple. And then there's two guitarists, one on either side of me, and the two keyboard players just doing all the more lush sounds and effects and things. So yeah.
It must be really hard to get all these guys together at the same time. You've managed to do that for the launch party that's coming up Friday, December 12 at Howler in Brunswick. What's generally the audience reaction when you play this music live?
Well, so far we've had two launch gigs of sorts. So we had our first single launch in January at the Curtain, we launched the entire 12-inch that was a part of in April at the Nightcat. We played at a festival. We did Wonder Mountain up in Beechworth, which is a great festival. So we're still just, in a way, even though we've been around a long time, we're, for this era of Mondo Freaks, we are still a baby band, and we're just exposing ourselves to new listeners. But it's generally been, you know, I see a lot of smiles and a lot of hands in the air, and testament to the writing and the energy we put out. It seems like people are having fun listening to it so far.
Yeah. Because you all play in so many other bands and you're all so busy, and Jay lives in America, what's the grand plan for
The
Mondo?
grand plan. Well, we have to sound again like a sports person. We just have to take each week as it comes. Like what opportunities come our way, and I've got to be open to if something good comes up, having some fill-in musicians here and there. And it's a 10-piece band, so there's always going to be someone that's unavailable.
Yeah.
But there's lots of discussions on things, for the future. So it's really exciting.
Yeah. Knowing your influences, you must be pretty proud of the album. Is it the album you've always wanted to make?
Well, I don't know if it's how I envisioned, the dream album, but I am very proud of it. And I don't, yeah, you don't know how it's going to turn out until it's done. So it is the album I always wanted to make. Just didn't know what it was until it was done. Yeah.
Um, what else have you got happening at the moment outside of Mondo Freaks?
Outside of Mondo's. So I'm currently on tour, an artist I play with, Matt Corby. So we're halfway through the Teddy Swims national tour in Australia. We've got the Melbourne shows kicking off tonight. Playing with Matt, and I've got what else do I have coming up? I'm not sure. I'll have to get in the calendar. I've got to get to the end of this month, and then reassess.
Yeah,
it's always something exciting.
Yeah, Luke, it's been great to catch up again, and
absolutely, Greg.
Really enjoying the album myself, and all the best with it.
Thank you so much. Great to chat.